we're going to draw the pictures. In a triangle ABC, A is 20, B is 30. So angle B is 30 degrees, side A is 20, and side C is 9. So your area, this is as straightforward as it's going to get. Area equals 1/2 your two sides multiplied together, so 20 times 9 times the sine of 30. And just type that in. Make sure your angle's in degrees, so make sure your mode is in degrees. Sine of 30 equals 1/2. 1/2 times a half is a fourth. A fourth times 20 is 5. 5 times 9, 45. So there's your area. 45 units squared, whatever those would be. Okie doke. There. Let's see. You typed in 90 instead of 9. So you'd have to divide it by 10 to go back on that 90 to a 9, and that would give you the 45. All right, so this kind of changes the ball game a little bit. Find the exact area of an equilateral triangle whose side measures 4. So you need to know what an equilateral triangle is. What's that?
All the sides are equal.
Okay, so all your sides are 4. And if all your sides are the same, then all your angles are the same, and therefore they're all 60. We really only need one of them. We kind of need a side angle side combination, so 4, 60, and 4. So your area would just be 1/2 A, B, sine 60. Notice this says exact. Your calculator, I don't believe, is going to give you exact, because the sine of 60 is an irrational number, so it's going to give you a decimal. So what is the sine of 60? So we can do this exact. We have 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. And for the sine, it's root 0 over 2, root 1 over 2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2. So this is root 3 over 2. And this is all 1/2 of 16 is 8. Are we good with that? And then the 8 and the 2 reduce to 4 and 1. So 4 root 3 is your exact area. So if you see exact, know that that means you need to know your values still. Does anybody know the finger method of remembering your values? I've never learned it this way. It's kind of along the same logic as to how I get you to memorize the table, but they say, like, if your thumb is your 0 degree angle, your 30, 45, 60, and 90. This is when you go sine, you go left to right. So root 0 over 2, your first finger, your root 1 over 2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, root 4 over 2. And then for cosine, you go backwards. So that would be your 0 degree angle. So that's root 4 over 2. And your 30 degree angle would be root 3 over 2. If I can find it online, I'll show it to you. And maybe they'll do a better job. But it gives you the sines and the cosines. And some people just like that because it's concretely in front of them. They don't have to like do a table. Just trying to help. Just trying to help. I've never done it, so I don't. And I usually don't teach it to my Algebra 2s because I feel funny. Well, because I don't do it, so I really have never thought to teach it to them, and then, yeah, so it feels funny to teach it that way, but, yeah, that was crucial. Good. I'm glad we ironed that down, Ryan. All right. Find the number of square feet in the area of a triangular lot at the intersection of two streets if the angle of intersection is 76 degrees. So if this is street 1, and I don't know, this is street 2, and they're intersecting at an angle of 76. And the frontage along the streets is 220 and 156. So the math here is no different. It's just they get a little fancier with the application and really try hard to make it real life. But at the end of the day, it's a triangle. Find the area. So area equals 1/2 AB sine C. So what would those numbers look like, Faith? Good. And this isn't one where we can do an exact value because sine of 76 degrees is not a thing. You have to use your calculator and just round to the nearest whatever. We'll round to the nearest whole number because it doesn't say. So 220 times 1/2 times 156 times the sine of 76. You really can do yourself in, by the way, if you're not in the right mode here. So always be careful of that. So I got 16,650 approximately. 16,650 feet squared. And then we just take, this one looks a little bit less. You might have to think about one additional thing here. Area of a parallelogram is 20. Find the measures of the angles of the parallelogram if the measures of two adjacent sides are 8 and 5. So that would be 8 and that would be 5. And we're asked to find the measure of the angles. We'll start with that one just because it's the one smushed in between. So what would the setup, what would the additional logical piece of information be that we would have to use to set this up? Okay. Not quite, but it's tied in there because this is the area of a parallelogram and the formula is the area of a triangle. So if you did that, you'd be plugging in 20 as if it was the area of the triangle, and it's not. It's the area of the entire parallelogram. But it would be 10, exactly, because if you cut a parallelogram in half diagonally, that would make this area 10 and this area 10. So, right idea, just that one additional concept of splitting that in half. So your area would be 10 equals 1/2 AB. And this is the first time we've actually had to find an angle. But just conceptually, like the law of cosines, this is all a coefficient, right? 1/2 times 8 times 5 is just 20. And then you would divide both sides by 20. And we'd have to do inverse sine. Or you could tell me the sine of what angle is a 1/2? 30. Good. Or you can do inverse sine. So C is 30 degrees. And it wants the measures of all the angles. So then we're going to have to play into your geometry a little bit. If this is 30, what's this? 30. And what's this one? 150. So you remember that consecutive angles add up to 180. Are you reading that off of Mrs. Grisanti's board over there? I think they're doing this right now. Consecutive angles or supplements, parallelogram. Would you look at that? Good? Easy enough? Is that the end of our road? Ooh, forces. I'm going to have to do a little homework on that. I don't know what that is. Don't worry, Ryan. I'll be ready tomorrow. Now, don't be so hard on yourself. All right, you have 20 minutes to do 12 problems. I think you can do it. Inverse. You should be doing inverse sine. Oh, you didn't? Because you're just doing hopefully you're only doing 5 problems tonight.